Hello, good day. For today's video, we will discuss Sigmund Freud psychoanalytic theory. As a person grows, the personality is also formed. Many psychologists present different views about personality or how personality develops. Freud presents a very interesting theory about personality, its components, and development. So let's begin the Freud stages of psychosexual development. Freud is the most popular psychologist that studied the development of personality, also probably the most controversial. His theory on psychosexual development includes 5 distinct stages. According to Freud, a person goes through the sequence of these 5 stages, and along the way, there are needs to be met. Whether these needs are met or not determines whether a person will develop a healthy personality or not. The theory is quite interesting for many because Freud identified specific erogenous zones for each stage of development. These specific pleasure areas that become focal points for the particular stage. If needs are not met along the area, a fixation occurs. As an adult, the person will not manifest behaviors related to this erogenous zone. So let's start with the first stage. This is the oral stage. So from birth to 18 months, the erogenous zone is the mouth. During the oral stage, the child is focused on oral pressure or pleasures like sucking. Too much or too little satisfaction can lead to an oral fixation or oral personality, which is shown in an increased focus on oral activities. This type of personality may be oral receptive, that is, have a stronger tendency to smoke, drink alcohol, overeat, or oral aggressive, that is, with a tendency to bite his or her nails or use curse words or even gossip. As a result, these persons may become too dependent on others easily, or they can be easily fooled or lack of leadership traits. On the other hand, they may also fight these tendencies and become pessimistic and aggressive in relating with people. Next is the anal stage from 18 months to 3 years. The child's focus of pleasure in this stage is the anus. The child finds satisfaction in eliminating and retaining feces. Through society's expectations, particularly the parents, the child needs to work on toilet training. Let us remember that between 1 year and a half to 3 years, the child's favorite word might be no. Therefore, a struggle might exist in the toilet training process when the child retains feces when asked to eliminate, or may choose to defecate when asked to hold feces for some reason. In terms of personality, fixation during this stage can result in being anal retentive, meaning an obsession with cleanliness, perfection, and control, or anal expulsive, where the person may become messy and disorganized. Next is the phallic stage from ages 3 to 6. The erogenous zone is the genitals. During the preschool age, children become interested in what makes boys and girls different. Preschools will sometimes be seen funding with their genitals. Freud's studies led him to believe that during this stage, boys develop unconscious sexual desire for their mother. Boys then see their father as a rival for her mother's affection. Boys may fear that their father will punish them for these feelings, thus castration anxiety. These feelings comprise with Freud called Oedipus complex, or in Greek mythology, Oedipus unintentionally killed his father and married his mother Jocasta. Psychoanalysts also believe that girls may also have similar experience developing unconscious sexual attraction towards their father. That is what is referred to as Electra complex. According to Freud, out of fear of castration and due to the strong competition of their father, boys eventually decide to identify with rather than fight them. By identifying with their father, the boys develop masculine characteristics and identify themselves as males and repress their sexual feelings toward their mother. A fixation at this stage could result in sexual deviances, both overindulging or and avoidance, and weak or confused sexual identity according to psychoanalysts. Next is the latency stage, or from age 6 to puberty. It's during this stage that sexual urges remain repressed. The children's focus is the acquisition of physical and academic skills. Boys usually relate more with boys and girls with girls during this stage. Next is genital stage, from puberty onwards. The fifth stage of psychosexual development begins at the start of puberty, when sexual urges are once again awakened. In the earlier stages, adolescents focus their sexual urges towards the opposite sex peers with the pleasure centered on the genitals. Now let's discuss Freud's personality components. Freud described the personality structure as having three components: the id, the ego, and the superego. For each person, the first to emerge is the id, followed by the ego, and the last to develop is the superego. The id. Freud says that a child is born with the id. The id plays a vital role in one's personality because, as a baby, it works so that the baby's essential needs are met. The id operates on a pleasure principle. It focuses on immediate gratification or satisfaction of its needs. So, whatever feels good now is what it will pursue with no consideration for the reality, logicality, and practicality of the situation. For example, a baby is hungry. Its id wants food or milk, so the baby will cry. When the child needs to be changed, the id cries. When the child is uncomfortable, in pain, too hot or too cold, and just wants attention, the id speaks up until his or her needs are met. Nothing else matters to the id except the satisfaction of its own needs. It is not oriented towards considering reality nor the needs of others. Just see how babies cry any time of the day and night. Absolutely no regard of whether the mommy is tired or the daddy is sleeping. When the id wants something, it wants it now and it wants it fast. Next is the ego. As the baby turns into toddler and then into a preschooler, he or she relates more with the environment. The ego slowly begins to emerge. The ego operates with the reality principle. It is aware that others also have needs to be met. It is practical because it knows that being impulsive or selfish can result to negative consequences later. So, it reasons the consideration the best response to situations. As such, it is the deciding agent of the personality. Although it functions to help the id meet its need, it also takes into account the reality of the situation. So next is the superego. The superego, near the end of the preschool years or the end of the phallic stage, the superego develops. The superego embodies a person's moral aspect. This develops from what the parents, teachers, and other person who exert influence impart to be good or moral. The superego is likened to conscience because it exerts influence on what one considers right and wrong. Now let's go to uh, uh, the topographical model of the three components of personality adjustment. So let's start with the unconscious. Freud said that the most what we go through in lives, emotions, beliefs, feelings, and impulses deep within are not available to us at a conscious level. He believed that most of what influences us is our unconscious. The Oedipus and Electra complex mentioned earlier were both buried down into the unconscious out of our awareness due to the extreme anxiety they caused. While these complexes are in our unconscious, they still influence our thinking, feeling, and doing in perhaps traumatic ways. The conscious. Freud also said that all that we are aware of is stored in our conscious mind. Our conscious mind also comprises a very small part of who we are, so that in our everyday life, we are only aware of a very small part of what makes up our personality. Most of what we are is hidden and out of reach. And the last is the conscious. Okay. The last part of preconscious or subconscious. This is a part of what we are rich imprompted, but it is not in our active conscious. It's right below a surface but still hidden somehow unless we reach for it. So let us see the iceberg metaphor of Freud. So information such as telephone numbers, some childhood memories, or the name of your childhood best friend is stored in the preconscious. Because the unconscious is so huge, and because we are not only aware of the very small conscious at a given time, Freud used the analogy of the iceberg to illustrate it. A big part of the iceberg is hidden beneath the water's surface. The water may represent all that we are not aware of, have not experienced, and that has not been made part of our personalities, referred to as non-conscious. So this is our reference, the child and adolescent learners and learning principles. So thank you for watching, and ganbate ko dasai, always do your best.